So a kingdom economist understands that central to flow of resources in the kingdom of God is the Father and his Son, or the Father and the cross of Jesus, which means a kingdom economy is love driven. A kingdom economy is love driven. In the future classes, we shall see what that exactly means, but it's very important for us to understand that the ultimate value of a kingdom ecosystem, or the kingdom business, or a kingdom economics, it is love driven. The Father dispatches or dispenses the love, and the Son executes it. So since we are sons of God, then we should take the burden of responsibility of driving the kingdom ecosystem or the kingdom economics by love, and not necessarily just by gold or by money. Money submits to the love of God in a kingdom ecosystem. Love will always trump money anytime when it comes to the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God, or the kingdom economics, revolves around love, and the pricing index in the kingdom of God has already been solved at the cross. The pricing index in the kingdom of God has already been solved at the cross of Jesus Christ. So anything that needs to be paid for has already been guaranteed. Therefore, within the boundaries of the authority of the cross of Christ and the agenda of the Father, resources are cleared and forwarded within that system, within that. So the authority of the cross and the agenda of the Father, within those two boundaries, those are the two particular peculiar machineries that drive resources in the kingdom economy. So money, gold, silver, time, resources that are expendable, that the world values so much to the point where they charge for, all those resources submit under the agenda of the Father and the cross of Christ. It's important for us to understand that. So where am I going with this? I'm going with this to a point where I want to explain to you the gold standard for the kingdom, or rather the God standard. So in Hebrews chapter 6 verse 13, let's just look at it. Hebrews 6:13 says, "For when God made a promise to Abraham, because he could not swear by no greater, he swore by himself." So you can see that God is looking for somebody who can match the value or the goodwill he can present on the plate or the trading floor. And he finds nobody who can match his value or his reputation on the trading floor. So God begins to use himself as a standard to value the promise that he's giving to Abraham, or giving to us for that matter. So the goodwill and the reputation of God is put at stake as a standard to measure or to give value to the promise he gives you. You can see that is very different, which means if you're a kingdom businessman or a kingdom economist, any venture you go into is actually a gift from God, and it has already been valued. It has already been valued and died for by Christ. It has already been valued, and you can trade, first of all, foundationally, using the principle of the agenda of the Father for that venture, and secondly, as the price of Christ, of the cross, for that venture. Everything else submits to that. Money, capital, seed funding submits to the two things, the agenda of the Father and the cross of Christ, which is love driven. So he says, "For when God made promise to Abraham, because he could not swear by anybody else, he swore by himself." So God became the standard by which the promise, by which the transactions he has with men, the transaction he has with his sons, are measured. And then verse 14 says, "Saying, surely blessing I will bless thee, and multiplying I will multiply thee," which means already facilitated in the kingdom economics is the blessing. Before you even have good manners, before you even have good qualifications, there's already a blessing set. Number one, because it's not reliant on your good manners, it's not reliant on your good business practice per se. Though good business practice is important, it is not incumbent upon that. It's incumbent on the reputation of the Father. He's already laid it down for you. He says the blessing and then multiplication. So factored in kingdom business is multiplication and the blessing. With blessing I will bless you, with multiplying I will multiply you. Let me try and repeat that again. Verse 14, saying, "Surely blessing I will bless you, and multiplying I will multiply." The Father is guaranteeing us that in a kingdom ecosystem, He's already factored in the blessing. He's already factored in what? Multiplication. This is central to Him in spite of your qualification, in spite of your good business practice, in spite of your degree, your diplomas, in spite of even your lineage as a good business person. Now, all those things are good and they're important, but they're not foundational. What is foundational is the promise of the Father, the reputation he has staked below that promise to fund the blessing and to fund multiplication. That is very important. So a kingdom ecosystem relies upon the agenda of the Father, the cross of Christ. It's love driven. It's love driven. The reputation of the Father is involved, number one. Number two, based on the reputation of the Father, based on the reputation of the Father, a blessing is guaranteed, number one. Number two, multiplication is guaranteed.